weird idea. While I was reading this, I was wondering why Cersei was like asked Kevan if Dorna was coming to King's Landing, and I was like, does she think that like he's into her?
Yeah, I was wondering about that also. Why is she even asking that question?
And
I don't think she actually tried to seduce him at one point, and he sort of rebuffed her. So I don't think
that is literally not an interpretation I've ever thought about.
I mean, it's gross. I feel like I should shower now.
Oh no, of course it's gross. That is kind of how Cersei likes to roll, but
maybe it's just a way to make him vulnerable to her by putting someone he cares about in King's Landing in danger.
It's funny that when she talks about bringing Taena Merryweather to King's Landing, she's completely thinking about her being with her at the castle, and he's saying, yeah, she can be with you at Casterly Rock.
Yeah. And he's great. Like, it's an innocent request. Like, no, it's not.
No.
But I wonder if she would even do that, though, because, like, she, I heard a theory that Merryweather was actually, like, working for the Tyrells, and...
Oh, I heard Dorne.
She might be working for Dorne.
She could be working for anyone.
I was assumed...
She's not working for Cersei.
I just thought of her as, like, a gold-digging bitch.
I figured she was just working for her own self-interest, like getting her husband promoted and accruing titles and lands to themselves, like basically just hangers-on.
Yeah, I mean, because she comes in here, and Merryweather is kind of like lost a lot of its panache because of their history with Aerys. So she's trying to bring them back up and give them a little bit more importance.
I kind of thought it might be Dawn as well, because that's, Doran Martell learns about the plot to kill Trystane, so I thought she might have been the one to share it with Merryweather, because she keeps thinking she might be a Tyrell spy, but eventually she gives up one of the Tyrell maidservants, and that's why she trusts her. But like Cersei never even considers that the Martells might have a spy in King's Landing.
Yeah, no, isn't Taena from the Free Cities, and Dawn has better relations with the Free Cities?
Yeah.
So everyone actually believes that story, though. We all believe, everyone believes this, that the Trystane plot is a real thing that was really planned, because I've never believed that.
It sounds
just
stupid
never
enough to be Cersei.
Thought, and it's the exact kind of but it does, and Doran would know that. It's like the exact kind of look how crazy this lady is and all the bad stuff she was going to do to you to get the Sand Snakes to kind of fall in line.
That might be, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about like Balon Swan, like how honorable he is if he would go with that plan.
Yeah, no, he's...
That's true, she did want to talk to Balon Swan at one point, privately.
Oh.
Yeah.
But Jaime, I mean, who knows? Jaime's judgment might not be the most solid in the world, but he did seem to like he was the least opposed to Balon Swan of the other Kingsguard. Like, he seemed to be like, to think he was pretty good.
Balon Swan, I think everybody feels, is a pretty upright guy.
You're really grading on a curve, though, with the modern Kingsguard.
That's true. And his family is totally just like, I don't even blame them. Like when you're like pitched this idea of like, oh, they send people to like both sides of the war. It's like, oh, those bastards, I can't pick a side. And then it's like, actually, that's so smart. Like,
yeah, really, what would you do? Just put all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very interesting chapter.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. The speculation about who was exactly Doran's spy. Like, how did he know that they were going to execute Trystane?
Assuming they were going to execute Trystane. It's just, Cersei's not the type to keep her own plots from herself. Just right there, it just was odd to me when that whole plot popped up out of nowhere in a Dornish chapter. Because that is exactly a Cersei type of plan, which is why it's so weird that she doesn't ever actually plan it.
I'm not sure if I buy it. I was just going to say, I don't think I buy it just for the simple fact that it puts Myrcella in a great deal of danger. That I think Cersei's, obsession with keeping her children close to her and safe might prevent that kind of insane plot from being hatched.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess Doran isn't really known for his honesty, so he could be totally lying to the Sand Snakes.
It was a great way of getting the Sand Snakes on his side.
Mm-hmm. Were you guys disappointed when you read it for the first time and you were like, oh, who's going to be the epilogue? And then it was Kevan?
Yeah,
I was happy to be back in King's Landing.
I didn't want him to die.
I think the first half for me was a little bit like, okay, it's just another small council. And then as it
Might
got
be weird.
on, yeah, and you got to see Varys and everything. I thought it was really cool.
Might not be a popular opinion, but this is actually one of my favorite standalone chapters in all the books. I love this epilogue.
I love that chapter. Why would that not be popular?
I don't know.
Because people were like, they ended Dance with Dragons and they were like, seriously? This is what happened?
I went into reading both of the books. I did the FeastDance combo to start with, like my first read.
Oh.
But I was also spoiled to death, like on all of it. I just couldn't help myself when I was watching the show. And so I knew all the plot points that were going to happen. So I kind of knew what was coming, and I didn't expect big battles at the end. And I knew that Jon was going to get stabbed and that Dany was going to do fuck all in Marine.
Spoiler for Dany.
So,
she does nothing.
She tries to do a lot. Poor Dany.
No, she does a lot. She does a lot. And I will defend the Dany Marine arc, but I didn't have those expectations. Like I knew what not to expect, and so I loved the epilogue because it was so freaky and it was like a bizarro small council meeting.
Yeah. I actually thought the small council part was a little bit mundane. It was like, okay, cool. We see that Aegon has started to cause a little riffle within the small council there. But then as it got on and you see what Varys is doing, I thought it was awesome, really, because you see that he's like, I'm going to start the chaos. And you just feel like that's how the next book is going to start. Everything is going batshit crazy.
And I guess, like, in retrospect, you know, it all looks like it's falling apart. But then once Varys comes onto the scene and is like, okay, I'm taking you out now, you realize how in hand Kevan actually has everything and, like, how ridiculously diplomatic he's really being. And I have a lot of problems with Kevan now. Like, he used to be one of my favorite, like, side characters. But I kind of have chilled on him a little bit. But, like, I remember being, like, a little disappointed when I read it at first. And I was like, oh, Kevin's dead. That sucks. And then you kind of, like, he makes all these plans and stuff, so you kind of forget, like, all right, I'm reading the epilogue, he's going to die, you know, and...
Why have you chilled on Kevan?
I chilled on Kevan because of the things that he helps Tywin do that, like...
okay, yeah.
Like, he's the one who carries out all of Kevan's orders in Game of Thrones to, like, totally sack the Riverlands, and, like, the amount of blood on his hands is kind of ridiculous, and he, like, does it... Like, yeah, he's a very decent guy, but he... apparently doesn't care or just thinks that it's worth it for him. So yeah, that really kind of
is he active in like the actually carrying out of the orders of sacking the Riverlands? Because I understand that it's a horrible thing that the Lannisters do, and that's why I really don't like them. Yeah. So if he was, then I would be on board with that as well. And Sir Kevan, it's not that I'm an apologist for him, but I would just wonder, does he justify in his own head as well everything that he does is part of, it's for the greater good of the realm?
I think Kevan doesn't object to it, but I think it's more like the Mountains Men and Vargo Hoat that do all that horrible stuff. Like Tywin issues his orders directly to them.
Well, Kevan he issues them to Kevan, I think.
Does
he? And then I read this like 3 years ago, but I think I remember, like, it's a Tyrion chapter, and Tywin tells Kevan, like, oh yeah, go tell them to do XYZ, and like afterward you start realizing the repercussions of all that. And I mean, that's really what, like, yeah, like technically like the Starks started the war, I guess, in kidnapping Tyrion, but like the ball was in the Lannisters' court, and Tywin so vastly overreacts, it's like not even normal, and it's all for like, oh, House Lannister and all that bullshit, and it's like, no, not proportionate response, still not like continually disproportionate response. And Kevan is like an unquestioning part of that. So,
are you talking about the chapter in the first book in Game of Thrones before Tyrion goes into battle, where he meets up with his dad and they're having that meeting and issuing orders? Is that the one you mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. If so, I forgot about that. I'm sorry to cut in. But yeah, if Kevan has actually given orders to help carry that out, or is even privy to it and doesn't raise an objection, then that is a whole nother level. Because really, when you talk about just murdering and raping small folk and like just laying waste to their villages, it really is just completely numbing your soul to something that's really very wrong.
Well, but
I reread that chapter just like last week. It does go down that way. He's in the meeting. Tywin issues a bunch of harsh sounding, like, retributive action to try to stop Robb, who's coming down from, they believe, the twins. Tyrion's already back, so it's not really in response to Tyrion being gone. But yeah, he issues it to Kevan, and Kevan takes it outside because he won't let the crazy berserker fighters in the commander tent. So yeah, he does know, and he does participate. I can at least vouch for that. I read it. Just reread that chapter.
I'm not sure if I accept that as a valid reason, to hate on Kevan. I mean, he literally delivered the message to Gregor Clegane, who then went about the actual, reaping of the Riverlands. He basically formed the function of a raven in that moment. Like, obviously, I think it's interesting in this chapter because at the end of Feast for Crows, and in this epilogue, you see Kevan outside of Tywin's shadow, and he might be one of the more competent rulers we see in King's Landing in the entire book series, because he's not motivated by his own petty pride or obsession with power, at least his own internal thoughts. It's all about balancing the council and putting the realm back to right and ending the conflict and bringing order back as winter comes.
Yeah, but
it depends how he worded his orders. If he's just saying go pillage the Riverlands or whatever, or if he's more explicit and telling them exactly what to do, then it raises the stakes on how culpable he is. But if he refused to do what Tywin says, then he really has no purpose, and Tywin just sets him aside and gets someone else that will do exactly what Tywin says. So it could be admirable that he stands in that place and tries to maybe manage Tywin's influence in one way or another, which we don't know is for making it better or worse.
Call me romantic, but I admire Ned for when Robert tried to do that to him. He said, "No, I'm not part of this."
Yeah, exactly. He didn't argue or anything. He just here, I have it on my secret PDF that I don't have.
Oh my gosh, I was trying to find mine too.
So
flipping through the chapter. So
keep in mind that Tyrion is back, right? Tyrion is in Tywin, is right here. That's how we know this. So blah blah blah. Roose Bolton does not concern me. He's a wary man. So on the morrow we make for Harrenhal. Kevan, I want Sir Adam's outriders to screen our movements. Give him as many men as he requires and send them out in groups of 4. I will have no vanishings. As you say, my lord, but why Harrenhal? That is a grim, unlucky place. Some call it cursed. Let them, Lord Tywin said, unleash Sir Gregor and send him before us with his reavers. Send forth Vargo Hoat and his free riders as well, and Sir Emery Lorch. Each is to have 300 horse. Tell them I want to see the Riverlands afire from the God's Eye to the Red Fork. They will burn, my lord, Sir Kevan said, rising. I shall give the commands. He bowed and made for the door. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty damning.
It's pretty bad.
I don't think that's pretty much like the modus operandi for all of Westeros' warfare. I don't think that's all that bad. I guess we don't see it in the War of the Five Kings. I get the impression that maybe Tywin has the brave companions and these sort of terror troops a little bit more than others, but I think the sort of raping and pillaging and burning holdfasts and villages is pretty normal for warfare.
But this isn't official warfare yet. They don't even know, I don't even think they know that, I could totally be wrong, but I don't think they know that Ned's dead yet. And,
he isn't even dead yet. He's not dead yet at all.
No, I think he is, because this is the council where they're trying to... No. It's after the defeat of Jaime, the capture of Jaime. Mm-hmm. So that was after...
I think it's before that too, actually.
Because I think they want to make a peace with Robb, and then Tyrion tips over the cup and says, "There's your peace."
That's right. That was a great scene.
And the fact is I could maybe not judge Kevan as much if he didn't think of himself as a good guy, and because he is in his personality, he's so I used to love him. I seriously. That scene where Cersei throws the wine in his face and he's like, oh, Tommen has his mother and his father too, I think. I was cheering for him. And then you just go back and see this and it's he doesn't treat himself like an active agent. He's literally Tywin's lackey. He's doing all of this so that he doesn't have to make any decisions. And which is weird because clearly he's not incapable of making good decisions, but he just kind of removes his own agency from the equation, and that leads to so many people, completely innocent people dying. And
well, I think Varys actually talks about that. I think that actually is Kevan's tragic flaw, that he is a follower. Duty is everything to him. I I think this is what Ned would have been if Brandon hadn't died. It's just you're a second son and you just follow your like the firstborn and the heir and the lord.
Yeah, but
This is what
He's
you
like
do in
the
Westeros.
Tyrion, only not as deliberately rapey, I suppose. And
but Ned does
do
challenge.
we think that he would have done any of this or made any of these kinds of decisions if he weren't Tywin's younger brother? Like if he were exactly who he is in the epilogue, but was born the first son and had control over the situation, is he still the type of person that's burning the Riverlands?
But I feel like
Well, if he was this type of person, I think...
I really feel like it's between choosing who you are as a person and what you feel like is the social norm. And just going with what the Lord says above you is not a good enough reason to make a moral choice.
It is a feature.
That's an observation about Tywin and his control over his complete control to the detriment. This is like Kevan Lannister possibly had certain attributes that would have actually made him a good diplomatic lord had he been in a position to do so. But he's born second and he's born a follower.
But, right, so that's the
In
thing.
addition to being morally fucked up, it's also, yet again, Tywin.
I know, Tywin screws everything up. But like I don't even necessarily fault Kevan for like carrying out the orders eventually, but he doesn't go like, you know, hey Tywin, because he hasn't built this into his relationship with Tywin. Like he doesn't rock the boat. Like that's how he. I mean, doesn't Jenna Lannister like say this, that like Kevan basically flattened himself into Tywin so that he could be part of that, you know, like a hanger on to that greatness,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Well,
Part of his shadow.
Right.
I want to raise a slight objection to that, where I wonder how much of this is Kevan and Tywin. Like Kevan doesn't challenge Tywin in front of others. It seems like they have after Tywin's death, it becomes revealed in the books, or at least it seems to me, that they had a much more complicated relationship, and that Kevan is far more competent. He's not just Tywin's like assistant or lackey, which is why he becomes surprising in Feast for Crows and in this epilogue that, you know, he has his own ideas. So I wonder how much of Tywin and Kevan's relationship was more of a partnership that, you know, once a decision was made, they were in it together. You know, he just did the role of dutiful brother. I don't know.
I think he was
I
like
think
a
it would have felt
Davos
that way
to
to Kevan, not to Tywin. So
yeah, well, he does describe him as his chief counselor after Joanna died.
But that's the thing, like there's no counsel given in this particular scene that is the root of all my Kevan cooling.
I guess,
Well, since this epilogue is our only point of view into his thoughts, we can't really know what he's thinking and dealing with Tywin other times.
That's true.
I guess you have to, I mean, there is no justification, but I guess you have to consider what a terrible position the Lannisters are in that scenario. I mean, they are on the verge, they are trapped between like, what, 4 armies, 4 different kings at that point, and they could be annihilated in the Riverlands. Their response is way over the top, but it's almost like it has to be, otherwise they're just going to be caught in like a pincer. Morally, it's not justifiable, but if the alternative is extinction and being destroyed and torn apart between 3 armies, I don't know what I'd do.
wait, that's the position they were in?
Yeah, their position after Jaime's...
Like, what do you decide? Your own family vanity or like what's morally right?
After Jaime's capture, they lost an army of 30,000. Yeah, they would, and then like Stannis rose up. Renly was declared king in the south, so they were in a bad position. They had to get into a castle immediately, which was Harrenhal, and I guess to give themselves a buffer, they declared this pillaging act
this
around
is
them.
all after they did that. I mean, they basically sparked the war.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could argue that since Tyrion was a captive at the Eyrie, that the Vale, that they assumed the Vale was going to be their enemy, and the south and the north. So I guess they were just doing like a Castamere again here, like making such a brutal example that nobody would dare to.
Yeah, I'm not defending the Lannisters at all. Like what they did was terrible. I'm just saying in this particular situation, what Kevan did, I don't know. It's not justifiable morally, but I guess I kind of see the rationality. And he wouldn't want to question his lord's orders. In the council meeting, that'd look pretty bad. They need to have like a strong
just Tyrion there. Like I don't think.
Yes, it really is just them. I think maybe a few of the clansmen were.
Well, maybe he
in
should have.
the tent at the time where they've been sent out, but regardless, like militarily, sure, it was.
Maybe he should have
kill or be killed, but that is serious. That just never thought of that as Tywin's reasoning for the particular brutality of the orders. That was just pure fury at Jaime.
Right, like this isn't marching your army. This is, you know, like I mean, the point has been made multiple times that Northmen rape and pillage and all that too, but the thing is Robb doesn't order them to. And, in whatever extent they try to stop it, they do. But the fact that I guess it just takes warfare into such a ridiculous realm that it.
Yeah, I think the Mountains Men and the Brave Companions are there for specifically that reason. That they're a weapon of terror and not a military force, really. I guess Gregor's men are the vanguard, I guess.
You had to use dogs sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think Kevan at this point is probably a far more minor character than he evolves into, because originally at this point it was only meant to be a trilogy, and then it became a 7-book series, so he fleshed him out a bit more in book 3 and then book 4, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's possible that Martin didn't have all of Kevan here yet. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty human. I mean, all of the characters are gray in these books. I mean, are you going to judge Kevan just because of that? Because that's just people just do their duty and do what they think, and breaking that sort of tunnel vision is really hard. And I mean, I guess we like characters that have done far worse than Kevan, like Jaime and I guess who else. But yeah, I mean,
Jaime's horrible actions were done on first of all on an individual basis. It wasn't thousands of people, and also, I mean, the way I personally justify myself liking Jaime is because I truly feel like he's become a different person who would not do those things now.
Well, maybe you could argue the same of Kevan. I think in these scenes it shows a lot more dedication to diplomacy rather than total war. Especially
but the
Lannisters
are totally screwed here. If the Lannisters make one wrong move, they're
Yeah, but okay. Even in lifting the siege of Riverrun.
I've always seen it like Kevan. Now, again, setting aside the dubious morality of carrying out these orders, when he could have just at least spoken up, are you sure that's what we need to do? By this point, by the time that Tywin is dead and he's able to actually assert some measure of control, it's all of these untapped resources, all of these things that he could have been doing instead. Just like Tyrion's skills or some of Cersei's arguable skills, and maybe it's not that the character has actually grown morally. I'm sure that if he thought Kevan, he was the type of man who could get away with Castameering some other house, he would probably do it. Doesn't think he can. And this is just the type of person that he always could have been. I'm not necessarily standing up for him. I don't know. I liked him as a possible level-headed Lannister, but maybe not in that first book. That's a solid argument.
I think it's a difference between what Tywin orders and what Kevan obeys. He might not necessarily agree with him, and I agree he should have counseled restraint, but that's not the same as being Tywin. He obviously doesn't, from what this one point of view chapter we see in this book, he doesn't appear to have the vengeance and wrath of Tywin.
Yeah, I don't think he has the guts entirely.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
if he had the same guts, then if he had any individual personality, he would have emphasized that already.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame him. I certainly am not going to say that not having the guts to annihilate another house is a bad thing. It's not. But I just don't see him as somebody.
I think
who
it has
is
more
maybe
guts
morally...
to not do that.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Actually, that reminds me of what you said, that unlike Jaime, he hasn't changed or something. I mean, I guess he does sort of, the wars kind of breaks him here. After Tywin dies, he just goes back to Darry, is it, to be with Lancel, and just says, fuck it, I'm going home. And I guess that would have tempered him somewhat here, I guess. Now he's just trying to do peace because his sons died and one is crippled and became a religious zealot.
And I think that conversation he has with Tyrion in his prison cell shows some of the misgivings he has over Tywin's action, the same way Jenna does. At the end of the day, he's the one keeping the house together, but they're not necessarily on board with everything he's done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I just feel especially what I got from Jenna's was just that, they decided not to rock the boat because it wasn't worth it. She said, she talks about, another brother who, couldn't deal with him being overshadowed by Tywin and how that kind of drove him off the deep end. And, Kevan and Jenna Jenna differently, obviously, because she doesn't have the opportunities that they do. But he is not... he's not, I don't see him, even if it was just him and Tywin in that tent, I don't see him as the type to be to argue those orders. I really feel like he's just kind of made himself his right hand, like I said before, and that, I can't give him like moral plus, like in all the other things that he admittedly like he does right. Like he does not seem to be a horrible person at all. But I can't like mentally be like, okay, that's good when he doesn't at least try and stand up for, argue against moral horror,
Sure.
Right. So as far as it goes in morality, he's a C student. Like, we don't hate him. He's not actually failing, but he's not the greatest either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about him, too. Like, he's understandable. Maybe I would do the same things he did, too, if I was in his position, I have to admit. But did he, like, make a move against anything that he thought possibly was wrong? No. Did he go along with whatever his overlord said? Yes. Because it made his house better off. Maybe because it wasn't for the good of the people, per se, per the children, as Varys would say, but because it felt like it was good for him and his house. But that's not really a great reason. It's not why you really back somebody and really love them.
It is in this world, though. Like,
Right,
that's
well,
the primary motivator, like, to serve your house and strengthen it and see it survive.
That's true, but I feel like the people that I love from this series transcend this A Song of Ice and Fire world.
Again,
Yeah.
you have to consider the terrible state both that they're in that chapter and also the terrible state that their house was in when Tywin inherited it. Like if they have any admiration for him, it's because of that. That he lifted them out of the grave.
Yeah, that I'm sure that affected Tywin as well as it did Kevan and Jenna. Yeah, they were overcompensating for their father's weakness.
The problem is that when you like in these kinds of scenarios, like when you reduce it to that, like a familial, like having a very disappointing dad, which undoubtedly Tywin did. The problem is that doesn't, like, this isn't Orange Osage County. It doesn't stay in your family. It spreads like cancer and it kills millions of people. And I feel like nobody has that. Like, very few people have that in mind, and that's, I guess, maybe why Varys has as psycho as he is, I mean, I was totally Team Varys before he showed up in this particular chapter, and it was kind of made clear what he was like willing to do. Like, all of his stuff about like, for the realm was like kind of bullshit. It was just like, he actually meant to do it like for the realm, as I want the realm to be eventually after a lot of people die. But like, it's very refreshing to be like, somebody who's actually thinking about the bigger picture and not just House Lannister, which is still what Kevin's thinking about. Even now, like, when Tommen's on the throne, he's still like, but the Tyrells, and the Tyrells are being like, but the Lannisters, and everybody's like, Dornish, and, it's all a mess.
Right.
Oh, darn.
I know.
Is there anybody that really actually cares about the realm? Because I don't think it is Varys.
Oh, God, no.
Small folk.
Small folk.
Who
Yeah,
really
well,
only
they
just
care about
their own
themselves.
house, probably. I mean, can you blame them?
Like,
Nobody
it's not-
seems to actually be about, my God, these people are living horrible lives. What can I do to make it better?
Edmure. Sorry.
That's true.
Look at the Edmure plug, y'all.
Actually, like, this is maybe part of why I have this bizarre fondness for Lancel. Like,
Oh.
I realize he's a moron, but I kind of admire that, like, total. First of all, I mean, he's treated like crap, with between Cersei and like that wound and everything. Like, he just has a really bad time of it. And then the fact that he just like he kind of, I mean, obviously, like, it's silly and it's like unthinking and whatever, devoting himself to the poor men or whatever.
Warrior's sons.
Yeah. But at least he's kind of willing, like, he's genuine, and he is, he doesn't want anything to do with his wife. He doesn't want anything to do with Castle Derry. He doesn't, he's not halfway. He, like, throws his lot in with them, and I kind of, as weird as it is, I kind of admire that.
He has achieved his clarity.
Yeah.
That is his truth.
He's like the born-again Christian.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
But he's not as annoying. I mean,
Well, he's a
no,
bit
I mean, no
annoying.
offense to anybody, but like, he's not really, like, he doesn't even preach to Jamie, he doesn't, like, he's
Yeah.
just,
man.
he's not like, Jamie, you should join this, whatever, he's
Right.
just,
Like, he's not going to Gatehouse Amy and saying, you should shut your gate.
right,
No. He says, if that makes her happy, more power to her.
yeah,
That's true,
exactly,
yeah.
you know what,
That's
he's
true.
actually quite progressive in that way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they're
I guess
married.
it's kind of similar to Jaime, how after he sort of gets broken, that he sort of rebuilds himself, and he just, I mean, I guess it's more apathy than like true moral fiber, I guess.
Yeah, he's gone through a big transition.
Yeah, that's why I love Jaime, because he just, that change is so palpable. It radiates through his chapters.
I know, but like for me, and I don't want to make this all about Jaime, but how can you like be behind the guy if he doesn't completely break down? Like, oh my god, I tried to kill a child. It's crazy to me. I know.
No, that's valid. It's totally valid. I feel like, I wonder if we'll ever see that.
I feel like if you're going to forgive Jaime for his redemption, you kind of have to forgive Kevan for some of the eerie things he does in book 1.
No, but again, Kevan actually, I mean, Jaime actually goes through something and actively, like, Jaime,
Kevan might have gone through something. We just haven't seen his point of view.
Yeah,
but as I said earlier, I think he definitely goes.
We don't have to forgive a change in someone that we don't know happened, but we also don't have to not forgive him either. I guess that's what makes Kevan more interesting, that we don't really know why he went along with things or why he maybe felt like he couldn't say or counsel restraint at all with his brother, or if he even feels bad about any of it. He does. Sadly, is not given enough time for us to actually figure that part out, and so we have to judge based on what we see.
I think we see some of it in Feast for Crows when Kevan is still in King's Landing and he tries to reason with Cersei to try to save the house, like House Lannister and, you know, Tommen's kingship. There's a certain element that he definitely takes over Tywin's role as patriarch of the family because Cersei and Jaime seem unable and or unwilling. So I think his arc is a little bit to, you know, he's going to sacrifice himself to save his house.
But he gives up, though. He only does this after he, like, you know, after Cersei, like, kicks him out. And, I mean, again, I'm not 100% sure I really blame him for that because, like, it's Cersei. But, you know, he does the same thing he did with Tywin, which is fold. You know, he doesn't like stand up for himself until like literally the way is like cleared for him.
That is a good point. Sorry.
Thank you.
I forget that. No, he just kind of walked out. He could have stayed if he truly felt like she was a danger to the house or a danger to the Lannister control over the throne, and he felt like he should be doing anything to make this better.
He had no legitimate power, though.
Right.
He's only a knight.
He's only a knight. He had no ambition. If he had any ambition, maybe he could have tried to make a play for power when it was just Cersei after his brother died, but he didn't. It was more like
this was an official office power to be.
Okay, I guess I need to come in here.
Wait, hold on. Doesn't she ask him to be hand?
She did, and he said no.
Yeah, dude.
No, she is the regent. He demands that she step down as regent in order for that to be doable. This is, of course, after Jaime says no. She wanted a Lannister somewhere to help with the power structure. And the terms that he laid out, you know, you step down and we're totally going to do it well then. Maybe that would have been, of course it would have been better. But ultimately, he walked.
Yeah,
not kicked out, like he chose to leave.
Like, is Cersei actually going to say yes to that? Like, do you believe that? Like, and I mean, again, I don't mean to say that his job wouldn't have been infinitely harder, maybe impossible with Cersei in power. It probably would have, but at least he would have been trying. Like, this is I guess the theme that I keep seeing with Kevan, which is that he just doesn't make that extra effort. And even here in this chapter, he's like, oh, you know, Cersei would have ruined Joffrey, Tommen as she ruined Joffrey, and it's like, well, who left her alone with Tommen? That was you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, not only does he not have ambition, like you said before, but he doesn't have ambition for his own purposes, but also just for the purposes of the realm, of being like the hero or something. He doesn't have that at all.
Right.
Which kind of isn't, that's not a bad thing to not have ambition, but it doesn't really leave him a lot of room to be kind of indignant about the state of things when he does get to come back.
Right. He's so
let's think back.
I don't think
let's link back to pre-Walk of Shame Cersei and Kevan, you know, reasonably laying out the reason why, like, she can go back to Castle Rock to live out her days while he, you know, does the regency. If he stayed in King's Landing after making that proposal, I'm pretty sure it would have been a safe bet that Cersei would have had to remove him some other way. Like, his life would be in danger. So it makes a lot of sense that he leaves after that confrontation.
Yeah, but that's a
why would his life
prophecy.
be in danger? Why would it
Because
be in
Cersei
danger?
was
If
killed.
she asked him to stay, he offered terms that he knew she wouldn't agree to.
Exactly.
She doesn't agree to them, but she's still shown that she would like him to stay.
So instead of staying
Stay
and
up,
providing
stay in a
any kind of
ground.
like grounding influence on Cersei, he just leaves
Yes.
until the realm is literally begging him to come back, and he has sort of a clear path. And then he blames Cersei for everything that's going wrong.
Yeah,
And
I
like, yes, it is her fault, but like, you could have been there.
Well, I think it's true that his life would have been in danger. I mean, if he stayed and started actually doing good things, those good things would be exactly the kind of thing that would piss Cersei off.
Yeah,
And
but I
you're-
don't think
Depends
she
on
would
what
have.
those good things are. Let's not assume that Cersei would just immediately be against any good thing. They actually do
kinda
have
do.
common
I assume
interests. Those
that.
common
She's a
interests are
sociopath.
keeping the throne for the kid, keeping the Tyrell influence at bay.
I think if
These are
Kevin
the
could have
things they
seen the
share.
Tyrell influence, which I don't think he did at that point, but he might have done had he become Hand. I think if he could have seen what Cersei was afraid of, and been on her side in that capacity, then they could have maybe made a deal. Maybe not. Like, I'm not saying that this is a given by any stretch of the imagination, because
Oh,
Cersei
Lord,
is
no.
erratic. But again, he doesn't take that step.
And now
Yeah, I think
it seems
so.
like he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because first you're criticizing him for sticking around and not just walking out on Tywin, and then you're criticizing him for giving up and walking out on Cersei and not just
No,
sticking
I'm-
around and listening to
No,
what she
it's
said.
the same criticism.
No.
The same criticism. It is that he didn't speak up to any of them.
Exactly.
But he did speak up to
Felt
like
Cersei.
he
He
could have
said, "I'm
done
going to take charge now," and then she said, "No, you're not."
So
And then
that's a totally
Well,
unreasonable
there's
thing to say to
taking
Cersei.
charge. Yeah,
You
it's
can't-
not
if
asking
somebody-
to take charge.
If somebody comes to you and is like, "Hey, do you want to be my second in command?" You don't go, "Yeah, but only if you make me the boss." Like, you can't do that. It doesn't work. Especially with somebody who is as unhinged as Cersei, which Kevin is aware of, but doesn't like.
So what makes you think he could reasonably like give her suggestions and she'd be like, "Oh, great idea"?
He might not have been able to, but he
don't
doesn't
know.
try. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think Cersei
don't
would have
know.
been very strongly opposed to any kind of appeasement to any of the Tyrells or any of the other houses. Like
But
anything
would-
that needed to happen. Like
Would he
she
have
would have.
tried to appease the Tyrells? I'm not entirely certain. He
Well-
has to appease the
No,
Tyrells
I
now.
don't think so. I don't think so. I think he would have, just like he did in the epilogue, come to quickly kind of realize the possible precarious position that they're in with the growing strong Tyrells and whatnot, kind of popping up all over the place. Now, whether he would know what to do or have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually criticizing him for not doing these two things necessarily. He doesn't have to be ambitious, and if he's the type to go back to Jerry and want to hang out with his son and kind of feel like, oh, thank God, I don't have to deal with my brother anymore. I am done with this. I'm going home. That would have been awesome. Had he maybe stayed home, because then it looks a little
Right.
wishy-washy, like he kind of wanted.
Well, Cersei got imprisoned, so he kind of had to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he
Hey.
had to come back because he didn't
Yeah.
want the Tyrells taking over.
I think it was Kevin came back more for his duty to his family than duty to the throne, really, or like a desire to keep the throne in Lannister hands. I mean, he clearly still cares for Cersei, and of course his what are they, nephews or grandnephews or something.
Mm-hmm. That really struck me in this chapter as well. The fact that he was so guilty in his feelings about going to see Cersei again.
Yeah, and he says, "All I did for House Lannister." So I think his loyalty is more to Casterly Rock than King's Landing. He just comes back to help.
Yeah, it's like-
Cersei.
Actually,
It's like he's
his
trying
role
to.
in it is so, like his role in facilitating the Walk of Shame in the first place might actually be the one most ambitious, ruthless thing that he does on his own, that we have been able to see. Like, he has this particular instinct, yet still feels really bad about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was
Yeah,
no
I
other
think that-
option. I mean, Cersei has armed a third army. Like, he had no other option.
I think that's probably Kevin sort of imitating Tywin. He doesn't really know
Yeah.
what to do here, and he's just going back, looking
Right.
back in his memory into Tywin.
Well, it does realize
Well,
he
Tywin
never
would've-
have- Tywin
Ty-
would never have been on board with this particular move.
Yeah, but Tywin
Right.
would have burnt
Not-
the great sept to the
not-
ground and
not
hung
particular
all of
thing.
the septons.
That's true.
But that
their
would have
heads
been a
on spikes.
disaster.
Yeah, but
If
like
you were
that's
a-
what I'm saying.
if it wasn't
Kevin is
his
more
daughter, he
diplomatic.
would've-
He doesn't
So
resort. to
wait,
that.
hang on one second. Something I actually have a question. Was this was the walk Kevin's idea?
No,
I thought it was the High Septon's
no.
idea. He just went along with it.
I septon. That was the only way she was getting out.
Okay.
I think the understanding I have always gotten was that he knew he could have done, Kevin, it was fully within his power to act to cancel this, to not make it happen, to get her out. She knew it, he knew it, the High Septon knew it. He didn't do it.
No, he didn't have the power to stop that.
He needed the result. He thinks about it. I feel like at some
He
point...
wouldn't feel as guilty if he didn't have...
Like, Cersei thinks about it a lot. He comes to see her, doesn't he, in one of the chapters, or sends her a message or something in which she asks, point blank, I know you can get me out of here, what's up? And that he claims he doesn't have the ability or power to do it, and she thinks that's bullshit. Because he is acting as the regent. He absolutely does. And
yeah, but he doesn't have control over the Faith Militia. The Faith Militia are loyal to the High Septon.
Right, and
Or
does
the
he
mob
want
of King's Landing.
Like, Cersei has
more?
lynched herself.
I don't mean that he has the power to spring her completely from all of the charges, just get her to the Red Keep without doing this particular move.
Well, he could risk it and
Bail
just
her out,
completely-
essentially, without the naked walk.
He could initiate a war against the Faith Militia, but does he want to do that? And then also, what I wonder is, after the fact that he's found out that she slept with his teenage son, and she's like a 30-year-old woman, how much of this is just out of a little bitterness toward her for what she did?
Does
But
Kevan
then
know that?
he has these weird...
Yes.
Yeah, he knows that because Lancel...
He holds her responsible for what's happened to Lancel and where he is.
And his other son, is it Martin, that got killed by the Carstocks?
Do you guys think he's jealous
No.
Who?
of Lancel?
Oh, Lancel.
I don't really think so. But then he has that really weird line about how beautiful she was and how like he kissed
When
her
she
hand. This
flowered.
might be the last kiss she ever
I
knows.
think he's just sad at how far she's fallen.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so as well.
I
Okay.
think that was just art appreciation. I mean,
Like
he's just
looking at
later.
what she's
I mean,
become.
in the scene where Cersei throws the wine in Kevin's face, Cersei tries to seduce Kevin there, and Kevin sort of refuses, and it's like basically like how far have you fallen or something like that.
Yeah.
So he gets a chance, but he doesn't take it. So I guess that's evidence.
Yeah, I saw
That's
that as
good.
just melancholy.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to accuse him of that. It was just something that like
Yeah.
occurred to me.
It is a bit weird when he's talking about her flowering and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like not even like, oh, when she grew up. It was like when she flowered. Okay.
Well,
I guess he doesn't have daughters.
For it though, maybe, you know.
What?
Well, I think Kevin actually
Like
has
to be a bit apologetic for people. What other term do they have for it?
That's what
Right.
that's the only term they use, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I don't think Kevin's a pervert at all. I think it really does just reminisce about Cersei and how she was so beautiful and she had so much promise and she seemed like it was like the golden age of House Lannister, and that just faded.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
And of course, we know that Cersei was already halfway around the twist, and Joanna had died, and Tywin wasn't the hand, and all of this stuff had actually been going on. It's just that kind of
Right.
actually something I did pick up on is that he keeps saying like, oh, I can't reminisce, like, oh, Pycelle's reminiscing about what used to be, and Kevin literally spends half the chapter thinking about the past, which I don't blame him for, but like he's
I highlighted that too.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
old
that's
done. I thought it was kind of funny how Kevin said that when Pycelle was saying that Red Ronet's uncle stood there like 15 years ago, and he's like, yeah, when a man gets that old, so everything reminds him of something. And I mean, that's a pretty specific example.
Yeah,
I mean.
exactly.
Mm.
And he's like, remember the dead babies in this hall right here?
Yeah.
Not to laugh at the dead babies, damn, that sounded terrible.
I know. No, I totally know.
Yeah, but he's completely reminiscing about a bygone era when House Lannister was at its peak.
Yeah, and Cersei's like a metaphor for that, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I know Tommen's on the throne now, but it's completely precarious, as we can see, with how he's trying to like do the little dance with the House of Tyrell to make sure that everything's okay.
Guys, I feel so bad for Tommen.
He's so
I
Do you
know.
think he'll have a good
do. I don't see him. I think I've been convinced that he lives through to the end.
Really?
Because yes, but I don't remember why. I just remember
I think
being
he's dead.
convinced the other day. But like, there's less value in killing him off out. It depends on who's doing the killing. The less value in killing him off outright, because then what? Technically, Baratheon throne Stannis.
The
Which is
problem
not-
is,
Anyone will
Oh,
want
there-
There is.
Tommen.
What about Marcella? Isn't she before Stannis?
Marcella is
see,
before Stannis.
I think according to the Iron Throne rules of succession, yes.
I think the trouble is with Tommen is he has been crowned. So you can't just say, oh, we'll demote you and let you be
Right.
Lord of Storm's End. Like, he has to be killed by any of the other candidates to be king or queen of the Iron Throne. So, like, if any other scenario plays out where, unless Tommen's king, he has to die or be smuggled out to Essos to, like, live like Dany did, which would be a nice, interesting parallel.
Or take the black.
Or take the black.
Oh, something on the wall with Sir Pounce. Oh my
king.
God, Nathan. Sir
So Pounce is like Ghost.
Oh my God! What if Stannis? Everybody thinks that Stannis is gonna take the black, right? So what if like Tommen is Stannis' squire on the wall?
Young.
Spin-off Kingsman.
I think he's an abomination according to Stannis.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Well, beggars can't be choosers, eh?
Yeah, that's true.
No, I would love it if Tommen survived.
Being the last king on the Iron Throne. Because I'm kind of one of those like no throne at the end type of people. Where really just I'm not sure what type of governance system can replace it necessarily, but not that. So like the 10-year-old Tommen, not Baratheon, being the last king to sit the Iron Throne, just has with his cats, and he's so little, and maybe has a pillow, and I just really like this idea. And he lives till the end of the story because the story ends and he's like 12 years old or something, and he can die after that, I suppose.
My first read through, I was convinced that, especially reading Feast for Crows, that the Seven Kingdoms would break apart into 7 separate kingdoms again. The whole idea that this is just decaying, that it was only held together by dragons and Targaryens, and it is over. And I changed my mind after reading Dance of Dragons, getting more into the community, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of everything fractures and falls apart.
Yeah, I like the idea that they split back into 7 kingdoms after this.
That feels kind of like a regression, though.
Yeah, I don't necessarily that. And I don't like Martin's making kind of the indictment of the basic idea of feudalism in the first place. And so to end the story with any form of feudalistic system still in place, even if it's 7 of them instead of 1 tiered.
I'm wondering if the High Septon might sort of take control and it'll be kind of like a Holy Roman Empire deal.
Seems a little far-fetched based where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, he said that it's going to be a bittersweet ending. I mean, I don't know if this is supposed to be like some kind of exploration of political structure or anything. It's a fantasy book. I mean,
maybe the others will just kill everyone.
No, that would be just bitter. That's not bitter.
They'll just revert back to like cavemen or something.
I think that half the realm is going to die of grayscale, to be completely honest with you.
I thought that it was going to be that the characters you love most are the ones that are going to die, but they'll die saving the kingdom, and that's what's going to be so sweet about it.
Almost.
Whatever.
Sorry, I just
as
looked at the
Sansa's
picture of Sir
alive.
Beth. Oh, the image.
I know. Isn't that sweet? That's so cute.
That is the best thing.
What?
Oh.
The picture that Peter just popped in the thing of Tommen and his cats.
What are the kittens called? I mean, it's Pounce and it's Lady.
Whiskers? Oh no. Boots.
Oh yeah,
Boots.
Boots has gauntlets in this one though. Weird.
Inaccurate. What is this, Game of
Not
Thrones?
canon.
Oh man,
I
it's a
hope they
king
get
who wants
prominent
to not
cats in
eat
the show.
meat and have cats.
And I love how like Cersei gets so upset when he's like, I don't want to eat beef. And like obviously yes, it is like part of the Tyrells, but like her idea of like normative parenting is so messed up that it's
She's fucking crazy.
yeah,
Oh wait,
she really is.
you disobey me. Let's bring out your whipping boy.
Oh no.
Horrible.
Oh god.
Little 8-year-old.
If you do, oh god.
And
the
by the
whipping
way,
boy.
I'm just gonna stand right here totally naked.
Like my favorite Cersei parenting moment was when she referred to Joffrey gutting the kitten cat.
It was just a bit of
mischief with the cat.
Yeah.
Mischief with the cats.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll give Cersei enough. Not this is not credit, but like I could see her forcing herself to forget the details of that, you know, and kind of like focusing her anger on Robert as you know.
Yes. No, she
Yeah.
totally rewrote that in her mind as something less Joff blamey as it actually was, because
Right.
Yeah.
It's a bit like
Right,
Sansa in
absolutely.
Book 1 where she rewrites memories and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just Sansa, there was like a 30-year-old woman.
Right. And
that's
Sansa
the
was
best thing. You wonder how many of her own memories
Yeah.
are rewritten.
Exactly. We can see that she's seeing herself as a victim, and she's rewriting history to fit herself, and that Robert is the enemy, and that she, i.e., like Joffrey or anybody that's like her, is innocent. And so that's why she's doing it. But she's like a grown woman. Sansa's, although I have problems with what Sansa does in those chapters, she's like 13 years old.
Yeah, 11, I think.
Yeah, she's reshaping her memories to fit this ideal sort of fairy tale narrative.
Yeah.
I do want to say the chapter, just in the idea of her rewriting memories, I don't know that I would necessarily believe she rewrites things to make Robert's actions something they weren't, or his motivations, or just the way he behaved more than they were, so much as to remove any blame that she or Joffrey may have had for them in the first place. And I guess that's just because the Mere Swamp scene in that chapter is actually my favorite one in that whole in the whole arc, because it's Cersei. There's just so much weird, crazy trauma in that one chapter where she remembers things and then acts things out, and there's no Maggie the Frog anywhere.
Yeah. Like she's been the victim of being penetrated, so she wants to penetrate somebody and just see what it's like, but then it's not that good. So
and lordship and ruling.
Yeah, I think those memories might be accurate.
Yeah.
Those I buy, so.
Also, there's really no point in them dramatically. Like, we, I guess, know more or less the objective truth of what happened to that cat. There's really no point in Cersei remembering Robert as raping her unless we're kind of meant to take something away from that.
Yeah, I do believe that as well.
And Robert sucks also, so.
Yeah, he's not super great.
Oh, come on, Robert is the best dude ever.
Shut up, you like Victarion.
He's complicated.
Hey, Victarion is fun to read. Terrible person. Super fun to read, though.
Oh, he's like
I will stand up for the existence of Victarion.
He's got a volcanic arm.
Exactly.
Robert are completely self-absorbed and they have no responsibility toward anybody but themselves.
Oh no, that is also true. That is also true. But the dude wanted to sail the Dothraki seas, okay?
Yeah, but they can hit really hard.
So you love him as in a World of Warcraft sense.
Well, no, Victarion is like Darth Vader kind of. I mean, he's got the cool helmet and the mask.
Darth Vader is smart.
No, he isn't.
What? How's he not smart?
What smart thing does Darth Vader ever do?
He kills all those guys.
That's what it's Victarion.
Based on that,
Okay, well now we're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, come on, listen to me about stuff right now.
If we are winding down, what do we think about full castle recording and how this works as like a repeatable feature?
I had fun.
Yeah, I liked it.
Seems workable. If people want to keep doing more of them.
I love it. I wish someone had done this for all the chapters so I could have continued to listen to them. No offense, Roy Dutree, super great most of the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this was fun, but I guess we can't go straight from the last chapter to the first chapter, because if we go to the next chapter, it's just going to be Dany wandering in the Dothraki Sea by herself.
Yeah.
What there are some really good standalone chapters that exist.
It's got to be a chapter with lots of dialogue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like we should do I don't know, one of Jaime's chapters or some of Sansa's chapters in King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrion's trial, maybe.
Yeah,
Tyrion's trial. That's what I suggested on the forums. I totally agree with that.
That is an excellent chapter.
Right?
Oh. Or the Jaime one where he lifts the siege on River Run and he's talking to Blackfish and the phrase and all that.
Yeah,
that is also. Oh Lord, Jaime getting owned by the Blackfish is one of them.
I love the Blackfish.
Yeah, a lot of speakers there as well.
I love it in some ways.
Well, I love him in that.
That is for another podcast. That's a different conversation.
Is that the chapter with Jenna, actually?
A little.
It's either that one or the next one, the next one after that.
That's not the big
because
one.
I thought,
she's in it.
Yeah.
It's one of these council scenes again, but there's not a lot of female speakers, but I guess you could lower your voice a bit if you want to join, ladies.
Yes, of course. Of course.
There is too many male parts, yeah?
I know.
You could do one in Dorne with all the sand snakes.
That's true.
That is good.
Actually, Jaime's chapter in Dance is pretty juicy too. There's a lot of talking, a lot of negotiation. I think there's a whore.
There is a whore.
Yeah.
She's wearing a crown.
Yeah, she's wearing Rob's crown, right?
Is it Rob's crown, or was there? Because I don't know the answer to this question. It tripped me out because Lady Stoneheart has a crown.
That's after.
There's this crown, which I assume is Jane.
Yeah, that's Rob's crown.
That's the same crown.
I think that was a phrase like bed warmer and
Lady Stoneheart in the Brienne chapter to the hands of a whore in this one.
Because she has an inside man.
Yeah, no, it's I think the one that has crown is one of the phrase bed warmers, and Tom Seven Strings goes with them, and I guess that's the way they get ambushed later on.
just
Yeah,
don't
about
know
them
why
getting
Lady
hanged.
Stoneheart would let her son's crown go.
That's where the Grand Northern Conspiracy.
Again,
turns in.
I mean, it's got to be a second one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I haven't
they-
looked into the Grand Northern
Apparently,
Conspiracy.
part of it is Lady Stoneheart apparently has spies in the Frey camp, and Tom Sevenstrings is one of them, and she's communicating with Edmure and stuff.
I think
Oh,
you have the
that-
timelines wrong because Jaime sees the crown on a whore on the river run, and then Tom Sevenstrings leaves with that Frey lord, and then they get ambushed, and the Brienne chapter is after that, so
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
crown went to Stoneheart's hands that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love the end of that chapter where, like, seriously, Jaime, Brienne comes up, totally cut up, not even looking like herself. And she's like, Jaime, leave your guards behind and come on this dangerous errand that makes no sense with me. And he's like, yes, my lady, of course.
Let's do it.
Oh my god. I love it so much, you guys. I ship them so hard. It's not even literally, I remember writing in my notebook in math class being like, Jaime of the Golden Hand and Brienne the Beauty, and I still feel that exact same way.
Yeah.
That's okay. I kind of ship Asha and Stannis, so.
Really?
What?
That's a new one.
That's rarer.
Interesting.
I know.
Stannis
It's there.
seems to hate like female progression.
She just kind of seems like the type of no nonsense lady that Stannis could get down. I don't know. I just like it. There's something about it in the northern chapters and dance.
I could see that. I don't think I ship it, but I could see it.
I feel like Stannis
I
is like
like
asexual.
I think he just has
He's
really
red
low-
sexual.
Yeah.
He's not red sexual. Let's be real, please. That's
Is
just
that a real thing?
Is it a real thing?
I don't think R'hllor is a real thing. So
Oh no, not.
No, but I thought if red sexual was accidentally like a real term in the real world.
Oh
something
no, I
else.
just mean red sexual like Melisandre is hot. That was
Oh.
me.
Well, of course.
Melisandre's
Yes.
hot, but boom.
Right, but I Osh is probably
No,
hot.
that was not. I did not mean a
I don't know.
pun.
He doesn't seem
Applause.
to be like succumbing to her wiles at all. He just seems to be like, ugh, it's a woman talking. Shut her up.
Yeah, Stannis does have a woman problem.
He does, and Asha's the lady to solve it.
No,
Something. I don't know.
I really would like that. Like
I hope it is.
if there was some kind of interaction where Stannis actually had to like respect Asha, I would really like that.
Mm.
But then
Oh,
I
yeah,
would like
well,
a
yeah.
lot of things that George isn't going to give me. So.
That is also true.
All right. So this has gone shockingly well, I think.
Good
I-
times.
Considering.
Yeah, that was good.
Also, in respect to the character or the chapter that we read, rather, I have to say, like, I really love it that as soon as Mace Tyrell was named to the position of the hand, that he had a chair to go with it. How awesome is that? Who does that?
Oh my god, it's the exact same thing as Theon. Like this is like something that's stuck in my head for so long from one of Theon's chapters when Maester Luwin, when everything's going to hell in Winterfell, and Maester Luwin is like, you could join the Night's Watch, and he's like, I have so many black clothes. I look awesome in black. And it's like Mace Tyrell's like, look at this awesome chair that I
Yeah.
happen to have.
Been sitting in his garage for like 5 years.
Right, exactly.
Finally, I
Yeah,
can
he's
use that
been, like-
awesome chair.
Polishing it and whispering to himself, soon.
Rubbing his blood on it.
Yeah, Mace
Soon he will
Tyrell.
All the
yeah.
kingdoms as husband
Lord
and wife.
Fish.
Okay, well, awesome. This has been the Vassals of Kingsgrave, full cast recording edition. This probably, I don't know if this will even be. This should maybe just be all after. But I like that we had a discussion about the chapter and other things because I think that adds something to it. Yeah, so listen to us next time, etc.
Etc.
Cool.
Lovely.
All right. I hope you guys, especially if you were new to podcasting, that you enjoyed and had a good time.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. I cannot wait to be at my own computer with my own things. So this was this especially challenging but super fun. So thank you guys.